Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about the originals, episode 413, titled The Feast of All Sinners, which premiered Friday, June 23rd, 2017 on the CW. I'm recording on the 24th, so it's been a good 24 hours since I've seen the season 4 finale. And guys, I have to say, even though it's been a day later since I've seen the episode, I still have mixed feelings about it, and I'll get right into it though. But huge spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the finale already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the finale. Otherwise, my other video reminders are up on screen right now. Take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Otherwise, let's start the 10-minute clock, and let's begin with what happened in this episode. So timeline-wise, it pretty much continues where 412 left off. I don't know if hour-wise if anything has passed, but I don't think so. I think it really neatly takes up where the finale ended, since it's Vincent's speech about his next plan continues right off where the 412 cliffhanger left off. So I'll leave it at that. Storyline wise though, pretty much it's two different storylines, or two subplots, I guess you could say. One of them is stopping the Hollowers, and then the next is stopping the Hollow. So when it comes to stopping the Hollowers, this is really important, especially after the Hollow, who is possessing Hope, resurrects Dominic, the high priest of her followers. And because of this, he has a huge gathering. They really wreak havoc on the city, trying to recruit more people. And because the Hollow has these Hollowers protecting her, Marcella and Sophia team up with Klaus and Elijah to kill the Hollowers for good. And teamwork to not only kill Dominic and the Hollowers, but to get Hope away from them and subdue the Hollow as long as they can to do the ritual, which leads to the second storyline, which was to stop the Hollow altogether. And it was Vincent's idea to separate the Hollow from Hope and placing it into four immortal beings, blood related to Hope. And this turned out to be Klaus, Elijah, Cole, and Rebecca. And once this happens, they can't see each other ever again, and they can never be near Hope ever again, because the Hollow is going to be within the four Michelsons. And now that the Hollow has had a taste of Hope's power, she's going to want to get back to Hope. And if any of the Michelsons are close to Hope while they have the Hollow inside of them, it's just going to be too tempting to have her reemerge and stuff. So to not let that happen, they really have to stay clear of her, which is why Haley was never an option as one of the four immortal volunteers, because then both Hope's parents couldn't be around her. And then Freya wasn't an option because she's not an immortal like the rest of her siblings, but she was thinking about turning into a vampire so that she could fill that spot, so that Haley wouldn't have to, in case Cole never came through. So there was that. After all this was done, though, Elijah gets Marcel to compel him to forget the always and forever promise that he has lived by for the last 1,000+ years. So that was his last thing before he truly leaves the city. Now, the last scenes of the episode pretty much is kind of like your mini epilogue version to kind of see where these four pieces of the Hollow went. Essentially like the four fragments that we were seeing collecting earlier in the season. Now it's in the four pieces are now the four Michelsons. So in New York, we see Marcel seeking out Rebecca to start their freedom together, because now that Klaus can't see Rebecca and can't interfere with her life, Marcel can be with her freely. So there's that. Now in San Francisco, we see Cole getting custom jewelry made from this one huge diamond, all for Davina, and he wanted the jeweler to include an engagement ring as well. So there's that before he sends off a text to Davina saying he's coming home bearing gifts and all for her. So there's that. In Mystic Falls, which is a nice surprise, we see Haley bringing Hope to the Salvatore boarding school. And this is where, from a distance, Haley gets to see Hope interact with children just like her, magical heritages and all. And then we see Haley talking to Alaric Saltzman for a bit, and he reassures her that this is where Hope will thrive the most and stuff like that. So there's that. And then the very last scene takes place in France, where we see Elijah playing piano in a bar. really getting into it, really losing himself in the music, and he is unknown or unaware of the huge tip he just got from Klaus. And though Elijah looks to Klaus, he doesn't recognize him. And Klaus leaves it at that and walks out of the bar. And then that's it for the episode. So I'll talk about that in a moment, though. But moving on to tidbits, though. I mentioned it before, but Freya was willing to turn herself into a vampire if Cole didn't appear. And she was hoping that Keelan would help her do this after they kind of talked it out. Keelan wasn't going to, even though she voiced what turning a vampire would mean for Freya, she understood why Freya needed to do it, or why she wanted to do it. So there's that. Also, we see Klaus making an apology to Marcel before the whole ritual happens about how he wasn't a good father to him and such. So it's kind of like final goodbyes are being said. So there's that. Now, moving on to the most shocking moment of the episode. I think for me it has to be the finale scenes where we got to see the 4 different, where are they now, I guess you could say. In last week's episode, after seeing the promo and Vincent's idea of how he wanted to split the Hollow into the 4 Michelsons where they can never see each other again, that kind of had me prepared for this episode where we would see it being followed through. But to actually see the final episodes and where all 4 fragments, I guess you could say, ended up, it kind of surprised me because it gave me a feeling of it being set like a series finale, which really had me worried, despite the fact that I knew that we will be getting a season 5 next year in the mid-season slot. So it still worried me. The thing was, it reminded me so much of how the Vampire Diaries series finale had ended, where you got the whole last bit of that finale getting these chunks of where everyone ended up being. And the final chunk in this finale pretty much resembled that same vibe, which had me very worried. On the one hand, it had me feeling very happy on the fact that we get to see where they actually ended up, how they're doing, or how they're starting off their new life without each other, I guess you could say. But then on the other hand, it's like you're reminded of the fact that they can never see their family again. So it's like, well, where does that leave them, type of thing. So it had me on a mix, but I'll bring that up in just a moment. Moving on to top 3 favorite moments, though, a huge one has to be the surprise cameo made by Alaric Saltzman. I was not expecting that. I ended up watching this episode with my family because I went back home on Friday, and the only way for me to watch it is to kind of take over the family room. So we were watching the episode, and I could swear, when Alaric showed up, I pretty much gasped, and everyone just turned and was like, what? It's like, oh my god, you cannot even understand how fantastic of a surprise that is, to see Alaric again. Because, like, I always love crossover stuff, you guys know that. But in 408, I knew Alaric was coming, and this time I didn't, so that it was a welcome surprise. So that's why it's one of my favorites. Another favorite of mine was Cole and him actually coming back to help his family. I was really worried that he wasn't going to show up. I mean, we didn't hear any, we heard nothing from Cole, like no voicemail message saying, can't reach me, leave a message, like anything like that. Any type of a presence of Cole, whether it's a video chat of some sort, or if it's a voicemail message that telling you to leave a message at the tone. Because we got nothing from Cole, I was worried that we weren't going to get him at all. And then when he appeared at the end, I was like, oh, thank goodness. Freya, not only does Freya not have to sacrifice her mortality and giving up her magic and everything, but Cole is also there to help his family in his time of leave. He didn't have to, though, because he's off having his happy ending with Davina as we last saw him, but he came back because he needed to do this. So I was glad he was there. Now he can go back to have his happy ending with Davina, so there's that. Another favorite of mine has to be all the goodbye scenes among the Michelsons. On the one hand, it kind of broke my heart because of the fact that for 1,000 years they could always rely on the fact that they could see each other when they needed to, if they need to, anything like that. There's nothing stopping them from seeing each other unless they were physically held against their will. But now they can't see each other. They can't do that after 1,000 years of existing and being together. It's just, they can't have that option anymore. The most they could possibly see each other now is through a video chat, and that's it, without risking the fact that this dark entity that they now have inside of all of them could reemerge and start this whole chaos all over again. So it was interesting to see what they would have said in their final moments. And one very huge, prominent one, I guess you could say, and there's the timer, was between Klaus and Elijah before they started the ritual. I think that was a huge one because for the most part, it's always been the two of them. Either they're in it together or they're butting heads with each other. Since the very beginning, since we were introduced to who the original family was back on the Vampire Diaries in season 2, it's always been Klaus and Elijah. So to finally get to the point where Klaus is telling Elijah, you have to let me go. Whether I fall in my time of solitude and I need your help, you can't do it. You have to let me go, and you have to let me suffer for it. So it's just stuff like that really gets to me, but it's really well done to the point that if their performance can get me to feel such heartbreak, then it's a job well done for them, for sure. Another favorite of mine has to be another heartbreaking moment, and that was the flashbacks we got during the scene where Elijah's getting compelled by Marcel to forget it all. And it was heartbreaking, not only for us. At first, I thought Elijah was telling Marcel to kill him. And I was like, no. If you kill him again, then that's like, there's no chance of getting him back for season 5. It's like, I can't handle that. Elijah's one of my faves. I can't have that. But then to have him actually compel his memories away, I think that's what happened. Because the whole thing, I'll get to it though, but the whole thing I wasn't sure of was, did Marcel compel Elijah to forget the promise of always and forever and forget all the emotional attachments to his memories, or did he erase all the memories he had of his family? That's the thing I was a little iffy about. But either way, that moment was heartbreaking because as you're hearing the compulsion from Marcel, we are seeing all these flashback moments of Elijah and his family, all these archive moments that have spanned over the 4 years of the originals. And then also some of them have bled from his time on the Vampire Diaries. More prominent being episode 308 of the Vampire Diaries, where we had the first flashbacks of the origin story for the original family. So it was, which was like 6 years ago. So it's like seeing that whole montage of flashbacks really got to me, and it just made it that much more finalized in a sense, but also made it feel that much more real that he was forgetting all this. I think he really was told to forget everything about his family, because it's like, it truly was like his life was flashing before his eyes and then he just forgets about it. So it's like, I'm really worried about that because I really don't want Elijah to forget about his family. I think I'd much rather have it that... Actually, I really don't know. I really don't know what I'd rather have. Would I have him have the memory but not have the emotional connection to it, similar to how Soulless Sam on Supernatural had the memories but never the emotional connection to those memories? Or would I rather him not remember anything and stare at his family and not realize that they're his family for the past 1,000 years? So it's like, which way would I prefer? If he has no memory whatsoever, then I'm worried that he can never get those memories back, or he'll never recognize or never feel connected to his family ever again. But then again, if it was the other way, he had his memories but no emotions attached to it, then I'd worry about him never feeling anything towards them again. Or would he actually build the connection again back up if he ever got the chance to? Either way, whole montage was a huge favorite of mine, despite the fact that it probably would have had me in tears if I wasn't surrounded by my family as I watched this. So there's that. Moving on though, to top 3 peeved moments. The thing that really bugs me was the separation of the Michelsons. even though technically they could still see Freya if they needed to. They could still see Haley if they needed to. They can never see Hope, or they can never see each other, as it were. And even though I was kind of prepared for it after seeing the promo for the finale, it still pisses me off that once again the Michelson family is separated. And it kind of has me wishing that we go back to the season 2 finale, where they defeated Dahlia, they defeated Esther, and all is well. They can all be a family together, and Klaus is able to hold his daughter and be done with it, and they'll be good, and they have this whole summer being a family and everything, instead of having what we had last season, where they all were separated and stuck in a comatose sleep as they waited for a cure to be found for them, while Klaus was separated from them. And now we have 4 of them being completely separated and isolated from each other because of this stupid entity who's not technically defeated, because now she still technically resides inside of them, so there's still a chance that she could return later on. So that kind of pisses me off. Another thing that pisses me off, or peeves me, however you want to say it, is the fact that this finale really felt like a series finale. I mean, it gave me the same impression. I mentioned it before in my shocked moments, how the final moments kind of was set up very similarly how the series finale had ended on the Vampire Diaries. It also, with the way, while I'm happy we got to see them happy, we got to see that Freya could still have a future with Keelan. We saw that Cole was planning to propose to Davina. We saw Marcel and Rebecca finally being able to start a life together, as they had promised each other back in 1915, as well as in episode 116 when she asked him to leave the city with her and he refused. They're now getting a chance to have their second chance together. And then for Elijah to have a guilt-free existence, or a burden-free existence, as he plays music in a pub. It's just, what really bugged me though is that while I saw them all happy, I hated the fact that they were all finding their happiness because they were away from each other. I mean, it just gives me the wrong impression of what their family is. Like, in a sense, them seeing them happy like this without the company of their family, I mean, it pretty much gives me the impression that when they're together, they're completely miserable. They can never have a happy ending together, but because now they're all separated and gone their separate ways where they can never see each other again, now they can find the happiness they deserve. I mean, isn't that a bad message for family? Like, even though some families could have really bad dynamics or really good dynamics, isn't the whole point the fact that family should stick together? I mean, some circumstances where if it's a danger to your own life, then okay, you need to split off. But like, usually you're supposed to stick with your family. They're your support system. They're the ones that are always going to be there for you thick and thin. And yet the finale in those final moments, while I'm glad to see them happy, it kind of pisses me off that they have found that happiness when they can't even see each other. Like, why can't they have that happiness while still able to be a family together? It's like, I don't get that. And that's kind of like, I don't know. Would I rather them be happy yet separate and never be able to see each other again? Or would I rather them be miserable yet together as a family? I have no idea. I really don't. But let's move on. What moment will I remember most when I look back on this episode, or finale, if you will? The sad reminder that the end of Always and Forever has finally come, which truly sucks, because the whole motto, Always and Forever, I am always going to remember it as the Michelson motto, or Michelson family motto, the original mantra, as it were. But now it's the end of it. And I don't really know what to think about that. So there's that. Random questions, though. I have quite a few that have been stuck in my head for the last 24 hours. First one, though. Well, I guess I kind of asked this earlier on, but it's pertaining to Elijah again. Did he get his memories erased of his family, or were the associated feelings to them just erased? So there's that. Second question being, if the Michelsons were to possess another's body, like we saw them do in season 2, would the Hollows still be an issue? Could they still see each other if they resided in other bodies? And it's just that there are the original bodies they have, the immortal bodies of themselves, is what can't be near each other. in a sense, kind of like how the travelers on the Vampire Diaries can't all congregate in one area without natural disasters happening. Instead, they reside in other bodies so that they can meet up and do their thing. So I'm wondering if that's a possible loophole for the Michelsons themselves. On the one hand, I'd hope so, because then we'd still see the characters being able to communicate with each other and actually go face to face, even though they're in temporary vessels. But then on the other hand, I don't get the original bodies, which I'd much prefer. So there's that, but I'm wondering if that's even a possibility. So that's a question there. Another question is, if Marcel is traveling the world with Rebecca, who is staying in New Orleans as its leader? I actually have the answer for that, though. I read in an interview done by Michael Narducci, and he said apparently there was a deleted scene that they had to take out for timing where Marcel actually had this talk with Vincent, and he pretty much handed him the keys to the city in a sense, giving Vincent the title of being the new king of New Orleans, or new king of the quarter, I guess you could say. So I'm not sure if they're going to still stick with that, or if we should still go off of what that deleted scene was supposed to give us. So there's that. But last question, I mentioned it well, I didn't voice out the question in my previous video, but I did put it on the screen. But it's pretty much been going through my head this whole time, though. But why did Freya rely so heavily on Vincent if she is meant to have this vast magical knowledge and power, enough of it so that Dahlia had wanted it for herself for 1,000 years? I mean, in season 2, they made up this huge thing about how Dahlia was this very powerful witch, and she coveted magical sources like Freya, who, as the first of her generation, was supposed to have this uncontrollable power, and it was power that Dahlia wanted for herself, enough so that she connected the two of them together and made sure that Freya forever stayed with her, so she'd have access to that power. And then that power is the same power that Hope was supposed to have, outside of what she would have gained as a hybrid from being a werewolf, being a vampire, being a witch, and all that. So if Freya was if it was built up in season 2 for Freya to have this so much power and to be trained under Dahlia, who had so much knowledge, then why was this season, did it have Freya so heavily really relying on Vincent, who only had 1/10 of experience than what Freya or what Dahlia or Freya had? It's just, I didn't understand that, and then it didn't make sense how, if Freya was meant to have so much of this power and so much of this knowledge, then how the hell does she not know how to stop the Hollow? Or how does she not have enough power to stop this spirit that was terrorizing the city? And then again, that could be relayed off of the previous season, in season 3. How could she not have enough power to override the ancestors when they created the spell that created Lucian's super serum? It's just like, they built Freya up to be this very powerful, unstable, magical being in season 2. And yet you never see her surpass that afterwards. It's always downplayed what she's able to do. So that's another peeve of mine, but it's a really huge question that I have. So please, someone let me know of an answer to this. I'd really appreciate that, though. But moving on very quickly to predictions. Since it is the finale, there's nothing else to predict except for the fact of what do I think season 5 will bring us. The same question from last week is if the Michelsons have to be forever separated in order to save Hope, how will season 5 look from this? Will that be the new mission for next season, to find a way to be reunited again without risking the Hollow from coming back into power? Is the mission going to find a way to truly defeat the Hollow so that they can get be a family together and actually come in close contact with each other without risking that? I mean, the show can't be called The Originals if it doesn't feature the original vampires. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So it's like, I'm really worried about what season 5 will hold if we don't see the family back together again. Plus, it will get tiring very quickly if we're going to be stuck seeing 4 different storylines going on, because we're going to be following all 4 of the originals separately. So it's just, or well, not all four, following Elijah's storyline, Klaus's storyline, Freya, Haley's, and then occasionally Rebecca and Cole, because I don't think they're going to be series regulars for it to get their own segment. But I really hope we don't get that. That's going to get too tiring. And I'm going to see no point in it unless they're all connected to them getting back together as a family. So there's that. Also, one question is, will one mission in season 5 be to restore Elijah's memories of his family? I mean, would he even want to? Would he want that burden back? Or would he maybe modernize how he gets those memories back? Maybe get the memories without the burden? I don't know. Another question is, will we see more of Hope's time at the Salvatore boarding house? I hope so. Or not boarding house, boarding school. I hope so. That would be more cameo opportunities with Alark, with his twins, Lizzie and Josie, and possibly Caroline. But I hope we get to see more time about that, which will lead to my last question. Will we get another time jump in the show? It wouldn't matter for any of the vampires because they'd still remain the same age. But if we do get a time jump, that means we're going to see a different Hope, possibly, depending on how big of a time jump. That means we might have to see an aged version of Alark because of that, if we were ever to see him again. And then maybe an aged version of his girls. Who knows? But that is pretty much it that comes to my mind. But what did you guys think of the finale? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen in season 5? Thankfully, there is a season 5. But let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions, but what you think is going to happen next season. Remember, it is a mid-season return, so it's going to be a while before we see anything, but hopefully we'll see something next month, which I'll get back to in a moment. But also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check it out. I'm a little behind, but I will get back to it. But you can also check out my WordPress account. Link for that is down below. Anything I post is connected to that. It's a work in progress, but it's more organized, so you can go check that out if you want. Also, if you want a more detailed recap of the episode, a play-by-play, if you will, check out my Livejournal entry. The link for that is down below. I type it out as I watch the episode for the first time, so it's whatever I pick up. It's a great way to keep things in line and organized for me, as there are some little small details I do forget after some time. So if those help you, then go check it out. So there is that. Otherwise, that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. The next video I'll post for the originals will probably be any spoilers we get from the San Diego Comic-Con that's happening in July. Hopefully we'll get some new footage for season 5 about that, though. But I'll probably do a video about any spoilers we learn about that, so be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, check out my other videos. Stay tuned, see what I've posted. But thank you so much for tuning in. And this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.